also that in Gaul, there were people, organizers, UNP organizers who were strong, and compared to whom I feel personally that the UPFA organizers and their track record over the last provincial council election was very poor. There was a lot of infighting, and that was reflected in the result in the provincial council also. That factor is also there, I think. So apart from the general urban bias or preference for a UNP kind of candidate.
What is the rationale behind that general preference of the urban voter towards the UNP?
It's a long term. I mean, it's mostly prevalent in Colombo, as I said, not everywhere. It's this whole thing that the UNP, that's the business class essentially, urban. This is not urban means not the slums. It's just a particular class that. Business is better for the business community if the United National Party is there. It's the whole right wing kind of, but they sometimes act against their class interests. They don't understand, that the economy. So Malinda has not done that badly on the economy. We have a decent growth rate. This economy has not collapsed and so on. We have not had to sell off our national assets, but they would think that that's something negative. That we didn't sell off our national, we should have sold the banks the moment that there was signs that there was a global recession coming or the global financial crisis, oil price hikes. First thing to do, you have to sell the banks. Things like that. So that kind of thinking you find in urban settings, and they talk about corruption now. Now it's really funny, this whole business of corruption. I don't trust politicians. I think politicians are made to be corrupt, but degrees of corruption. We never talk about someone pointed to my friend Errol. He pointed out, you get the cartoons, you get the politicians with the big bellies, you get the mudalalis. They are all wearing sarongs, right? There's a bias against the sarong. The guy is wearing shirt, trousers, ties. The corporate thieves. That's fine. Corporate crime is okay, corporate corruption is okay. Why? It's our people doing it. It's white collar stuff. It is not ugly. It's decent stuff. But theft is theft, right? So that bias is there. We look after our people look after us. So I believe that element is there in this bias towards the UNP, but it is eroding. You can see it's eroding. The UNP vote base has eroded. Otherwise, how can this candidate perform so poorly in areas where Ranil Wickremesinghe performed better than Sarath Fonseka in 2005?
Now, do you see this opposition this time, what was headed by Sarath Fonseka? It was unexpected. So, I mean, did it pose a bigger threat to the government, and did it bring out the shortcomings of the government more, and what is the positive impact of that?
So it's we have to compare the real situation of Sarath Fonseka contesting with the imagined situation of what if it was Ranil Wickremesinghe. So you can't. It's just they're just talking conjecture. So it's not very useful. But we can say this, that he appeared to be a strong candidate because. The calculation was the credit for defeating the LTT would get split, the UNP vote will come in, the JVP vote will come in, but they did not predict, or they did not understand that you just bring people together, it's not the sum of that. When two people come together, there are certain negative spin-offs on that, of that coalition. When a JVP person gets together with a when the JVP and UNP get on the same stage, there is a JVP guy out there in Monragal or Tissamaharama whose family was massacred by UNP government, right? And there is a UNP guy whose father was a Grama Sevaka who was killed by the JVP in 88-89. You know the kind of violence that took place. I mean, nothing like that has happened since then in Sri Lanka. That takes away the spirit of the campaign that you bring into the campaign. If I am a JVP guy, die-hard JVP, Kapuat Ratu, how can I stand with the Kapuat Kola guy whose Kapuat Kola part, the being Kapuat Kola meant that he had killed my father or slash the throat of my brother? How can I campaign with this guy? So those I think factors which I think the Sarath Fonseca camp did not take into account, and they worked against his the camp effort.
But having said that, as you said, the Kapwath Kola, sort of the UNP vote, even if the JVP was in the picture, they conveniently also forgot about that, the presence of JVP, right?
Yeah, they forgot. I mean, they didn't campaign together. You had someone giving Ranil a hug, and Andhra Kumar Sanayaka and Mangala Samaravira coming on the same stage. All these people, photo opportunities, but elections are not won through a television advertisement, through a newspaper advertisement, or nice things said on the internet. They are won and lost on the ground. Who goes from house to house? And what do they tell a person when a UNP person goes with a JVP person and someone says, your brother was killed by this guy's party? What do you say? So those things are there. They had to campaign probably separately. They couldn't do it, and the enthusiasm was not there. Why? Because Sarath Fonseca is not my party. He's not that party's candidate. He's not a UNP. He's not a JVP. Why should I campaign for this man? What does my party get out of this? So I think that that was the you can say common candidate, does not belong to any party, has some stature nationally. Therefore, when you bring all these things together, it should work out. But then there are certain other things also that come into the equation which can work against.
And we will speak about the topic of violence that is connected to
Right.
elections. So,
Right.
what is your perspective and the observations
Right.
done by actually the monitors of
Right.
elections when it comes to the violence that was associated with this particular election?
No, violence very relative. I mean, you can talk about violence. There has been violence, and violence is not a good thing, and better if there isn't any violence. This election we had 4 deaths. The election day was very peaceful. Comparatively, there were 13 or 15 incidents that were reported. 1 shooting, 1 grenade being attacked. No one got injured. Some people being turned away. Nothing significant, and certainly nothing that could have changed the outcome of the election. There was no harassment of voters or things like that, which we have seen in previous elections, 2005 to 1999, 1994, and 1988. 1988, you mentioned earlier when we were having this discussion, 800 people were killed. Over 800 people were killed on election day. Who are these 800 people, and who killed them? The UNP and JVP. They were fighting each other at that time. So you have to see this violence in perspective. It has to be viewed in terms of you have to have a sense of proportion about this. There was very little violence in the lead up to the elections, and very little, almost negligible amount on election day. So I think PAFREL, Center for Monitoring Election Violence, and other NGO outfits and various people interested in monitoring these things, their reports have not been as worrisome.
Yes.
Yeah, you have another
Yes,
election
Malinda,
result.
yes, we have to go for a small break and see the election results.